Just when you thought that the only things you had to worry about this upcoming summer were crippling inflation, an open southern border, and whether or not we were going to kick off World War III, well, the CDC just threw a wrench into your peaceful plans. That's because they just announced a new COVID variant which is spreading throughout the US, and it carries with it some unusual symptoms that were not seen in other variants. And strangely enough, the rise of this new variant, well, it coincides perfectly with the WHO's new plan to implement a centralized global passport scheme, basically the global version of what the European Union enacted a few years ago. And of course, it's all being done in the name of keeping you and I safe. However, in order to explain what's really happening here, let me back up for a quick moment and set the stage for you properly. And of course, if you appreciate content like this, which is oftentimes completely ignored by the mainstream media, well, please do consider smashing those like and subscribe buttons, which quite literally forces the YouTube algorithm to share this video out to ever more people. Now, to start with, this right here is a close-up of SARS-CoV-2, the virus which causes COVID-19. And as you're likely well aware, there's been a debate raging across the entire world about whether the original virus just naturally manifested in the world or it leaked out of a lab in Wuhan, China. However, let's set that debate aside for now, because regardless of how it came into existence, this virus, after emerging in the city of Wuhan, it has been circling the globe for the past 3.5 years now, and in that process of circumnavigation, it's been mutating over and over and over again. And each new mutation of the virus has been given a different name according to the Greek alphabet. And so it started with the original Wuhan strain, which is called the alpha strain, and then it mutated along various branching pathways into the beta strain, the gamma strain, the delta strain, and then later the epsilon strain, the zeta strain, the eta strain, the theta strain, the iota strain, the kappa strain, the lambda strain, as well as the mu strain. Then the WHO, which is the organization creating these new variant names, they skipped the Greek letter nu because it sounded too much like the word new, and they argued that people might get confused that this is just a new variant. Then they also skipped the Greek letter she, spelled XI, in order to not offend anyone who happens to be named she. And so then the next variant became the Omicron variant, because that is the next Greek letter after she. Now the Omicron variant has a unique characteristic, which is that while it was much more infectious than the original virus, it was also, at the very same time, significantly less severe in terms of the actual effects on the human body. Meaning that the Omicron strain was able to infect a lot more people more easily, but the symptoms were generally milder, which was exactly why everyone's favorite scientist, Mr. Bill Gates, he publicly referred to Omicron as an effective type of vaccine.
Well, sadly, the virus itself, particularly the variant called Omicron, is a type of vaccine. That is, it creates both B-cell and T-cell immunity. And it's done a better job of getting out to the world population than we have with vaccines.
Regardless, the virus did not just stop mutating with the Omicron variant. Here's a simplified visual of how the evolution continued. The Omicron strain mutated into Omicron BA2, BA5, BA2.75, BQ1.1, and then into the XBB strain. The XBB strain then continued mutating into XBB1.5, and then more recently XBB1.16, which is the strain that's codenamed, for some reason, Arcturus. For your reference, by the way, the name Arcturus refers to one of the 5 brightest stars in the night sky. Now, exactly why that name was chosen is not clear, but it was. And this Arcturus strain of the virus is spreading fast, given the fact that, according to the latest numbers from the CDC, it now represents 20% of all new COVID cases in the US, with the FDA pointing out in their own statement that, quote, the current trajectory of virus evolution suggests that Arcturus could be the dominant strain by fall of 2023. Now, in terms of what makes this strain different, there are several things, including its infectiousness, its ability to evade immune response, as well as its unique symptoms. And in terms of infectiousness, well, Dr. Sean Lin, he's an American virology expert, formerly with the US Army, and he said that, quote, according to laboratory studies, Arcturus had an additional mutation in the spike protein, which was more contagious. He added that Arcturus was 36 times more contagious than B11, which was the early Omicron strain. And so, if you think about it, if Omicron was already significantly more contagious than the original virus, and this new strain is now 36 times more contagious than that, well, that's a lot. But the upside is that despite its increase in infectiousness, in terms of the severity, it's remained static, with many of the symptoms being the same as before. Things like fever, sore throat, runny nose, body aches, diarrhea, fatigue, and shortness of breath. These were both the symptoms of Omicron as well as the symptoms of the common cold. However, Arcturus, it appears to add one new item to that list, which is conjunctivitis, otherwise known as pink eye. This is the new addition to the symptom list. So whereas before the symptoms were almost completely identical to the common cold, there's now a new unique symptom in the form of itchy eyes that also have sticky discharges coming from them. Furthermore, in terms of the ability of this new strain to spread, well, there was a study that was recently published in the Lancet Medical Journal. It was done by researchers over in Japan, and their study found that XBB 1.16, which is the Arcturus strain, demonstrates a greater growth advantage in the human population than XBB1 and XBB 1.5, which are the previous strains. However, similar to XBB1 and XBB 1.5, XBB 1.16 exhibits significant immune evasion capabilities. Furthermore, the researchers also discovered that Arcturus had potent resistance to various new COVID-19 antibodies. But have no fear, because late last week, the FDA made an announcement urging the vaccine manufacturers to go ahead and make a new vaccine formulation specifically targeting the Arcturus variant. Here was part of the statement, again, from the FDA, quote, "Based on the totality of the evidence, the FDA has advised manufacturers who will be updating their COVID-19 vaccines that they should develop vaccines with a monovalent Arcturus composition." And wouldn't you know it, late last week, Moderna came to the FDA with a new formulation, seeking official approval. Here's what the CEO of Moderna said in a statement alongside this request to the FDA. Quote, "We have been working diligently for months to build ample supply, with doses ready to ship in time for the fall vaccination season in the Northern Hemisphere." Although here, I think it's really worth pausing for a quick moment and taking in the situation just for a moment. Because if you remember back to a few years ago, during the very height of the COVID craze, there were people who were suggesting that it would never end with 2 shots, and that very likely COVID would become something like a seasonal virus, much like the flu. Now, at the time, the people who said those things were marginalized and labeled as conspiracy theorists. Back then, if you dared to say that COVID was just like the flu, which mutated every single year, and therefore the old vaccines wouldn't work because they were always trying to play catch up, you would be censored for spreading dis or misinformation. And yet now, take a look at a totally mainstream news segment discussing the situation with Arcturus.
This is kind of a big lesson for epidemiology right now in saying that as long as we let viruses replicate, they may continue to mutate, which is why they have to be monitored, and why on about April 17th, the World Health Organization changed the designation to variant of interest because these changes in XBB.1.6 that may allow it to grow faster. But that's 100% what it's all about, is just keeping an eye on these variants, not saying there's a cause for panic, but kind of giving people guidance of what they should expect.
However, this story gets a lot deeper, which we'll get into right after I take a quick moment to introduce today's sponsor by showing you this little piece of money. Or rather, I should say that this is fake money being printed into oblivion by those geniuses over in Washington, D.C. And so before they completely obliterate your life savings, what I recommend you do is to convert that fake money into real money, which is physical gold and silver. And the best company to use is the sponsor of today's episode, American Hartford Gold, who also happens to be my own personal gold and silver bullion dealer. Now, American Hartford Gold is one of the best companies in the game. Besides myself, they have thousands of other 5-star ratings across the country. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. They ship quickly, directly to your doorstep. Their product listings are awesome. They're stacked with great options of gold and silver bullion and coins. And best of all, they have amazing customer service. When you pick up the phone and call them, you feel good because not only do they have friendly staff, but they're a patriotic company that actually sponsors a program like ours, so you feel good knowing you support a company that supports the truth getting out into the wider American audience. And so calling them up is a no-brainer. But best of all, if you tell them that Roman sent you, they will throw in up to $5,000 worth of free silver with your first purchase. So giving them a call is a real no-brainer. So hit them up. It's 866-242-2352. That's 866-242-2352, or you can simply text the word Roman, R-O-M-A-N, Roman, to 65532. Roman to 65532. Of course, all their details will be down in the description box below. And now, let's head on back to the studio. Regardless, that's the situation as it currently stands. The virus has mutated. It now causes, among other things, pink eye, and the vaccine manufacturers are racing to get their new formulations out to market as fast as they can. However, you might be looking at the situation and asking yourself, so what? I mean, the number of people who are actually getting booster shots in this country has fallen off a cliff compared to the number of people who got the original shots. And so who cares? Well, the WHO cares. That's because amidst the backdrop of this new variant spreading across the world, the WHO made a shocking announcement. Just a few weeks ago, they unveiled a new plan to adopt the European Union's digital vaccine passport scheme, not just in Europe, but globally. Specifically, in an official statement put out by the WHO, they revealed a new partnership that they have with the European Commission to take their vaccine passport scheme globally. Here's part of what that statement said. Quote, "The World Health Organization and European Commission have announced today the launch of a landmark digital health partnership. In June 2023, which is, of course, this month, the WHO will take up the European Union system of digital COVID-19 certification to establish a global system that will help facilitate global mobility and protect citizens across the world from ongoing and future health threats, including pandemics. This is the first building block of the WHO Global Digital Health Certification Network that will develop a wide range of digital products to deliver better health for all." Meaning, in plain English, that Europe's COVID vaccine passport scheme, the one where you have an app on your phone which is green if you're up to date on your shots, and then it turns red if you're not, well, that will now be used all across the world, not just in Europe. And the best part, at least in my opinion, is the Orwellian language that's being used in order to sell it to the public. And as an example of what I mean by that, listen to this quote that's in this WHO statement. This is a quote from Mr. Terry Breton, who is a high-level official within the European Commission. Here's what he says regarding this new scheme. Quote, "I am pleased that the WHO will build on the privacy-preserving principles and cutting-edge technology of the EU certificate to create a global tool against future pandemics." That is, if nothing else, a beautiful use of language. Because think about it. There is nothing more privacy-preserving than having an app on your phone to show the barista at the coffee shop your vaccination status. Regardless, this is the situation. The new COVID variant that's spreading across the US and across the world causes things like runny nose, sore throat, fatigue, and pink eye. And in order to combat it, we need to implement a global digital health certification network that will be centrally run over at the World Health Organization. It reminds me of those famous words from President Barack Obama's chief of staff. Quote, "You never want a serious crisis to go to waste." And what I mean by that is it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before. If you'd like to dig through anything that we discussed in today's episode, I'll throw all of the research notes for today's episode. They'll be down in the description box below this video for you to peruse at your own leisure. And then lastly, I think that overall in today's episode, we thoroughly answered the question that was raised by this particular news headline. Why are so many people getting pink eye? However, if you're interested in the answer to the question that's raised in this headline, well, unfortunately, that's not a topic that we are free to discuss here on YouTube, which is exactly why we launched Epic TV, our awesome no censorship video platform. And over there, I recently published a super spicy episode detailing some recent, you can say, bombshells that the CDC dropped on those who took the vaccine. Now again, despite everything in that episode being 100% factual, based on statements from the actual agency, from the CDC, from different peer-reviewed studies, as well as just concrete data, well, that topic is not really welcome here on YouTube. But over on Epic TV, it's no problem, because there, nothing's censored. So if you'd like to check out that awesome episode in its full uncensored glory, just click on that link at the very top of the description box below. Click on that link and it'll take you over to Epic TV where you can watch it right away. Again, that link is right there at the very top of the description box below. I hope you check it out. And then until next time, I'm your host, Roman from the Epic Times. Stay informed. Most importantly, stay free.